All right, so I got a really good question about AI operating systems, right? So the question is really around, hey, it seems outlandish to create a whole operating system for your business, right? So let's break this down because we really don't need to do this in the form of a rocket ship for it to still have a lot of practical value and be above the context of what beginner knowledge would be, right? So from a picture standpoint, right? If we're going through and we're looking at these things, the first thing that folks will talk about when they're talking about AI is context engineering, right? So this is the overall reference architecture. We'll come back to that in a second. Let's make this a little bit more practical. So if we're building an AI operating system, we can apply this generically to any business practice that is there, right? So what's your why? What's the main goal that you want to achieve as part of it? Is it efficiency? Is it better client experience? Is it to go ahead and be a more effective in whatever the product or service that we're providing to give more value to the customer? The core goals, right? Think of these as principles, timeless things that we can do. What are we building, right? So they can be broken down. The what is really broken down into what are the business side of it and what's the technology side of it. So what are the key features, right? The things that are going to make up the system. We can measure those features. Then what are the benefits? Ultimately, that's all a customer is going to care about. Like, what do I get from this? What is the actual value proposition, the intersection of the features and the benefits that I'm going to get as an outcome as a result of that? And as we go down the stack, this is starting to get into the how details. This is kind of where, you can debate some of the different philosophies of how to do it. But what I believe as part of these items is we can break down these complexities into these higher level ways of thinking that can be applied to different scenarios and really kind of get into that system thinking piece. So for today, we're going to do this as a demonstration. Let's break this down off of the use case of what does an Amazon selling partner operating system look like? Yeah, this part can be complicated, but it doesn't need to be a rocket ship. So that's essentially what we're going to do here. We're going to start with leveraging Claude and specifically Claude projects. So most folks are familiar with just using AI to chat with. It might be as simple as, hey, instead of a Google search, you're doing it within your AI. That's essentially your beginner level of knowledge with AI. The next tier of this that has a lot of value with not much technical complexity is looking at it from a project standpoint. So there's a lot of concerns right now. We're like, well, the AI hallucinates. So this gets into this concept of context engineering. So right now, folks are just using basic user prompts, right? There's a whole slew of other ways that we can make AI more, not just more efficient and more effective, but also a better experience in the end. And these are some of the different things that we're going to talk about today. So long-term memory, these are going to be items that the LLMs are maintaining the conversations and the different type of interactions that you're providing to it. The system prompt, this is what we're going to look at in the Claude project. And then your user prompt is your traditional chat interfaces for these things. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have available tools, and those available tools will come in the form of MCP servers, which we'll talk about later. And essentially what that is it takes all the different things, the spaghetti interfaces and all the different things that you would normally have, and it uses it like a USB-C port on your MacBook Pro or your PC, right? It stitches the things together. So this is essentially how we would build an operating system. Let's apply this to Amazon now. So if I create a new Amazon operating system, I can create a knowledge base. And this knowledge base can be uploaded from my device. It can be from my Google Drive. It can be from GitHub if it's coding repositories. So I've uploaded my main buy sheet for everything that I've bought at Amazon so far this year, my customer returns report, and my all listing report. We can put a lot of different context in here about your business and the outcome, right? If we get back to this aspect of why am I doing this? Well, what the value I'm looking to do is have business analytic reports that I can talk to them in natural language and make better business decisions. That's my why. Better business decisions. So I'm more profitable, better experience, or I'm more efficient. Okay. So here's what we can do. We're going to create the system prompt. A system prompt will have a role. It's going to have an objective. It's going to have constraints, and it's going to have outcomes, right? In the form of output formats. So there's a million ways to do these prompts. This is just going to be the way that we're going to structure this one. Now, what we're going to do here is to mitigate against the concerns of hallucination. I'm going to set a constraint, and I'm going to use Whisper Flow to be able to do audio to text. I'd like you to add a constraint to only refer to my project knowledge in this cloud project when coming up with your answers. This is your gold set of information and data. Do not consult the internet. Only use your project knowledge. So now I have that in text and it's ready to go. And this can be as simple as an output format, right? So let's go ahead and fill out the rest of it. Role is ultimately going to be, what is it an expert in? I'd like you to be an expert in being a business analyst. You have 15 years of experience of being able to sort through distributed data sets from your customer and being able to make meaningful outcomes as a result of that. You're going to take whatever the user puts in as part of the chat, and you're going to use this system prompt to be able to come out with solutions for whatever the user is requesting based on the knowledge that's provided. All right, so we're going to take that second set. I'm going to drop that in the objective, right? So basically it's going to be an analyst and it's going to work with the user to have it. Output format. So what we'll do here, please provide me a report that starts with an executive summary, has any pros and cons of the decisions that you've come up with, and outputs a final recommendation. If the user has other requirements, please factor these into the output format that's provided. So at this point, we can take all of this data that comes in, and this is really the crown jewels, right? So you're gonna iterate on these, and you're gonna start to come up with what is the best system prompt that makes the most sense for this given scenario. And essentially, this is the start of an Amazon operating system. You're starting to build these concepts. Now, if I want to put in other tool sets, I can go ahead here and click the tools, and I can add different connectors and components, which really get back to what we're talking about here, which is what are all the other types of things that I have access to that I can give it more information over here. So user's going to put in different items. I'm going to set the system prompt, which we just did. Here's our available tools. And the retrieved information is that knowledge base that we just set up. So now I have a very practical setup that I can go ahead here and utilize this as a saved project. So we can go back through. I'm going to go ahead here and just do a copy of this. And at this point, if we would go ahead and hit this upload button or put this, it's going to go ahead and create that as a user prompt. So I now have a saved item that I could start the project. I can edit the details at any point in time and interact with my data sets on demand. So I hope this helps to kind of give a brief overview. This is just the start of these types of items. We can build more rocket ships later, but this is a very practical start to being able to utilize AI, not for just from the sake of doing regular conversation, but starting to put it into systematic format that removes those hallucinations and gives you the desired outcome that you're looking for.